Hey y'all, I had been meaning. Hey y'all, it's me, Brandis. I have been meaning to record this video for a while, but somehow I just keep seeming to run out of time. And I meant to make this before Christmas and it just didn't work out, but it's still the holiday season. And so, as many of you may know, I have experienced a lot of death in my life. I lost both of my parents in a short period of time. Within 5 years of my life, I lost both of my granddaughters. Within 5 years of my life, I lost both of my grandmothers, a daughter, and my parents. And so I think am an unwilling expert in dealing with grief. And so I have a few tips here, actually 14 tips, things that you should do to help you cope. And the first thing would be to embrace your feelings. So whether you're feeling sadness, anger, guilt, or resentment toward the person who passed away, like embrace that. Don't try to run or ignore from those feelings. Because all it's going to do is prolong your process. So they're still going to be there. Burying them deeper isn't going to make them go away. All it is going to do is allow them to continue to fester and prevent you from moving forward through this trauma. The next thing is, after you embrace those feelings, is to start working through them. So why are you sad? Why are you angry? Why do you feel guilty? Why do you feel resentment? And sometimes, you can do that on your own. And sometimes the reality is that we need therapy or some type of counseling or a life coach to be able to help you work through and process those feelings in a healthy way to make them productive, rather than you just like digging yourself in a deeper hole. And the reality is that sometimes when you're working through healing, you do end up having to go deeper down the hole, deeper into the pain, in order to begin to heal from it. But that's a whole nother topic. And then the next thing I want to say is, the third thing would be to work through your grief at your own pace, but beware of being in denial. So don't feel like there's a certain time frame that you have to be a part of or subscribe to in order to receive your healing, in order to process this grief. Everyone works differently and everyone processes things differently. But while you're doing that, you have to be careful that you're not like living in the stage of denial. So like, are you pretending that you're okay and you're really not? So the fourth thing would be is don't busy yourself. And on the other side, don't isolate yourself. So don't throw yourself into a whole bunch of different activities, trying to take your mind off of these feelings that you're feeling. And on the flip side of that, do not isolate yourself because of these feelings that you're feeling. The key in life, with grief and everything else, obviously, is balance. So don't try to occupy your time with doing 100 million things so that you don't have to focus on or deal with whatever feelings that grief is bringing you. The fifth thing would be to still celebrate the holidays. So we had a tradition in my family that on Christmas Eve we had pizza. So it started off ordering pizza, then eventually it ended with my dad making pizza every Christmas Eve, because we somehow discovered he was really good at making pizza. And so every Christmas Eve we had pizza, and that's something that I continue to do. So I've done it by myself, I've done it with other people, and now I have my daughter, and so she and I have pizza on Christmas Eve. And still on Christmas Day, pretty much every Christmas since my parents have passed, I cook something. Or if I don't cook, I definitely spend time with someone else. I'm not that big on Thanksgiving, but I do still try to do something, even if it isn't with other people. So I do make an observance in some way. The sixth thing would be to strengthen your spirituality. So if you're the kind of person who goes to church, start going to church. If you meditate more. If you are, Muslim, go to your masjid. But this is the time that you should be pulling closer to whatever higher power it is that you relate to. I have just found that there's so many answers about a lot of things that I received by praying and being more aware and in tune with my higher self. And by doing that, I was able to find a lot of healing, and I'm grateful for that. The seventh thing would be to start being present. So when people pass away, it's really easy to get caught up in the past. And also the woulda, coulda, shoulda, and how it would be, and trying to reimagine the future and how things could be different, or what might be going on right now if this person was still here. And when we do that, we tend to neglect everything that's currently happening in front of us. And that is how we miss out on blessings and opportunities. And that is how we end up neglecting the people in our lives who are still here with us right now. The eighth thing I would say is to try new things. So start doing something new. For me, I would say the biggest shift in my life is when I packed up everything. I had a 3-bedroom apartment, and I packed it all up and moved to New York City to finish my degree. And before that, what motivated me to do that, actually, I was really depressed at home. I decided that I did not want to be depressed anymore, and that I wanted to follow my dreams. And I started looking up different opportunities around the state of Connecticut, and I ended up finding an opportunity to be a co-host for a day on a local radio show. And that ended up turning into me being on that show weekly, which was super fun. And that weekly show got me into blogging. And that blog is what made me decide to go back to school for journalism. And so here we are. Still not a journalist, but I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. So I would encourage you to try new things, because you aren't dead. You are still here. And trying something new, I think, is a great way to release endorphins. And endorphins are, the happy hormones that we release that help us feel good. So the next thing I would say is find peace and comfort in solitude and start doing things alone. For a long time, I guess I had some abandonment issues, and because a bunch of people left my life in a short period of time, And that's not to mention like friends and family who disappeared as time went on, you know? So I had a really hard time being by myself. I spent a lot of time not doing anything because I didn't want to do stuff by myself. And it finally occurred to me one day that doing things by myself is lit. There is a peace that I find when I'm able to be by myself. I can hear my thoughts. I can check in with myself. Do I feel okay? Am I all right? How am I handling this? What do I want to do with my life? Plan my future. So once I did that, it was really helpful for me. So the 10th thing I would say is, are you honoring their legacy? Are you living a life that is honoring the legacy of the person who passed away? And for me, I realized that I wasn't. I was not doing bad in life, but I don't think that I was living in a way that would make my parents and my family members' legacy continue on. So for me, working in retail was not the answer. And for some people it is. But for me, I realized like I'm not going to get my family's names on any buildings by continuing on this path in my life. And so for me, that was like changing my career path. For other people, that could be deciding to volunteer or, I don't know, doing something that they feel would honor the legacy. So that could be like quitting a bad habit or starting a new healthy habit. So find some way to honor the legacy of the person. The 11th thing that I would say is start to find humor in things. That's easier said than done. And so for me, I forced myself to start watching stand-up comedy. And I'll never forget, and I am always grateful to Cat Williams. He's kind of problematic in his personal life, but It's Pimpin' literally saved my life. And I watched it every day and cried laughing. I just saw 12:34 on the counter. And cried laughing because it was just so funny to me. And it was also a message that I really needed to hear at that time, which was be in tune with your star motherfucking player. And I wasn't. And now I am. So find ways to find the humor in situations. And so now I am even able to laugh at jokes about my parents being dead. I find everything funny. I find inappropriate things funny, and I don't even really care that anyone doesn't laugh because life is way too short for me not to be laughing at something that I find humorous. And literally almost everything's funny except rape and pedophilia. I mean, you can literally find something funny about everything. So, the 12th thing I would say is feelings are fleeting. So don't get caught up in them. And we've heard people say that before. So you might be feeling really sad, depressed, anxious, manic, depressed right now. But you're not always going to feel like that. And I can tell you that as someone who has experienced and gone through exactly probably what you're feeling right now. And I didn't think I was going to make it on the other side. But the reality is feelings are temporary. And as sad as you feel right now, there will be a day that you aren't sad anymore. And I hope that you can use some of these tips that I've given you to help you start processing through that. And then the 13th thing I would say is accept your new normal. Your life is different now. It's easy for me to say that. And it's accepting your new normal isn't something that I think is going to take a day or a week or a month. It took me a really long time to be normal, to feel normal without having my parents. It was a very weird feeling for several years. And I even think after they were dead for like 5-6 years, I still didn't feel normal about it. And that's because I guess I was just, I mean, I knew my parents were gone, but I wasn't accepting of the fact that that was my new normal. And so it was still really difficult for me. And then the 14th thing I would say, and this was the last thing, is that you have to heal from your relationship with that person and any unresolved issues that you may have had with them. And so over time, those things may change, and I am constantly still having to revisit issues that I had with my parents. But now I'm able to see them in a new light. And so for a while, there were times when I was really angry about certain experiences that I had with my parents. And now I can think about those same things and see how they may have come to that conclusion or why they made that decision. And that is only because I allowed myself the space to heal from those unresolved issues. I allowed myself to forgive them as well as forgive myself. And so that is how, those are just those are 14 things. I mean, there's probably 100 different things that I've done over these last 12 or so years that have helped me cope. And things change all of the time. And as long as my family members have been gone, there's always a new reason why I have to revisit even some of these things on a regular basis. Grief is an ongoing process, and I read something a couple of months ago that said it takes over 70 years to grieve the loss of someone who was close to you. And so I don't want you to ever think for a second that it's not normal that you're still upset. I don't want you to think that it's not normal that it's taking you this long to get over it. You don't ever really get over it. You just accept and find ways to be able to deal with it. I mean, who gets over their parents dying or their kid dying or their spouse dying? It's not something that you get over. So if anyone says that, fuck them. I really hope that these tools help someone. I probably should have more thoroughly introduced myself in the beginning, but my name is Brandis Taylor Davis. I am a certified life coach based in Brooklyn, New York. If you need any help dealing with grief, or you would like to reach some goals in the new year, please feel free to shoot me a message or an email at hello@taylordavisagency.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Excuse my messy hair, but this is the time that I had to make this video. And excuse my bad lighting. I love you all. Take care.